I've spoken about everybody's favorite Pokemon sprites in the first generation of games in Pokemon Red and Blue version, where many of the sprites were a bit off, making for some funky looking Pokemon, both awesome and awful. Once Pokemon Yellow came around, the sprites were revamped to look more like the official artwork, with a few still being funky, but then we had a new generation of games, Pokemon Gold and Silver, and later Crystal. You'd think with all the experience making games, Game Freak would have significantly improved the sprites in these games. Well, yeah, they did. Some Pokemon got much needed appearance upgrades from the previous generation of games, and some continued looking as they should. But we still saw some sprites that looked off from their intended appearance on official artwork, and others that even looked more awesome than normal.
But they're still cute, right?
Yes, it's really all up to your opinion in the end. So let's go over the top 10 most notable sprites from the second generation of Pokemon games. As with the list on Red and Blue sprites, this is not a serious art critique. Let's just have fun, nostalgia, all that stuff. So that's why by most notable, I mean the ones that look both better than expected, and the ones that don't look so good, but I'll make sure number 1 is one that is certainly in need of improvement. And to note, each Pokemon had different sprites in Gold and Silver, with a few new sprites in Crystal, so with over 500 new sprites to choose from, there are plenty of possibilities, because it's a whole new world we live in. It's a whole new way to see. It's a whole new place with a brand new attitude, but you still gotta catch them all. Since it's the top 10 Gold, Silver, Crystal Pokemon sprites, that was very off-key. Who's that Pokemon? Number 10, it's Igglybuff. I'm not gonna make the sounds like they do in the show, this is authentic enough. In the second generation of Pokemon, we were introduced to baby versions of Pokemon we saw in the first generation. Many of them fit right in with their older counterparts, but Igglybuff, it was the weirdest one to me. Also Cleffa, but that's not important right now. If the babies were supposed to be cute, I think Igglybuff looked worse than Jigglypuff. See? Not even Jigglypuff likes them. But the sprite is the important thing here, because that's what the video's about. Look at those tiny eyes. It looks like they're not even in the right place. Why does it have so much forehead? It has to be the eyes that's wrong. I mean, in the show and other artwork, it at least had bigger eyes, so I could see somebody out there finding that cute. The eyes are supposed to be yay high, not like tiny marbles as they are in the sprite. It also might help overall if Igglybuff had eyes that were not bloodshot red. Maybe give it some nice anime eyes to help and... Oh god, no! I made it worse! Pretend I didn't suggest anything.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 9, it's Ho-Oh.
Ho-Oh makes a rainbow with its wings.
Yeah, that's right. This sprite looks better than a lot of the other sprites in the game, since it's almost like it's on a third dimension in its Gold version sprite. I can't explain it. Like it's in 3D without anything enhancing it. Just good pixel placement. It belongs on classic artwork. It's that good. Okay, maybe I exaggerated that a bit, but you have to admit the sprite pushes the limitations of the Game Boy Color. Who's that Pokemon? Number 8, it's Togetic. Both the Gold and Silver version sprites would be average if Togetic didn't have an abdomen twice the size that it should be. Look at its wings! Now look at the other pictures of it. It's clearly supposed to have a body that's smaller. How can its wings carry that body when it takes flight? Unless its body is hollow or full of helium rather than full of organs.
I don't think he can fly like that. Who's that Pokemon?
Number 7, it's Growlithe. Look at the murderous intent in the eyes of Growlithe in Gold version. He looks so angry. Growlithe is supposed to be a happy puppy who just wants to play in battle. The only time he gets violent is when he's protecting his owner. But this sprite? He doesn't have that youthful charm. I don't want to catch that.
Looks like a yappy puppy to me.
What do you mean by quote-unquote yappy? It looks like it wants to consume one's soul.
That's not good for a puppy.
What else do you expect him to eat then?
Poke Chow?
Well, yeah, that I guess would be the logical option. Should have thought of that. Who's that Pokemon? Number 6, it's Geodude. The Gold version and later Crystal version appearance of this sprite have never looked quite right. Geodude has his fist raised in the air like he's yelling at some hooligans outside. I can imagine him sitting and watching for anybody he considers a punk. This design kinda looks like the Red and Blue design, which is probably something you don't want to be compared to considering how, well, I already said the first generation had some pretty bad sprites. The thing is, this sprite just looks bulkier than, well, any other one in the series. It's even bulkier than the one that appears in Silver version, which came out at the same time, and I like how the Silver version one looks. Look at this sprite. Geodude is ready for anything. Like he's about to take on the NFL's best defense, or like he's a Jedi using the Force, or even a school crossing guard preventing our protagonist from walking into light traffic. Wait, better, he's really into his karaoke of the Supremes. Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. I like this one.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 5, it's Moltres. The sprites in both gold and silver were rather similar, so both apply here. Normally, this legendary bird stands tall with its wings out, and a clear distinction between its wing muscles and flame feathers. Cool design, right? I mean, look at that strut in this iteration, or more pose because it's a still image. However, the second generation sprites have the wings completely engulfed in flames. Imagine, one flap of those wings and flames go everywhere. It would either be beautiful or harmful to the vegetation around. The other generation sprite designs look pretty well kept in the feather fire department, while the second gen design resembles that of a phoenix. It almost looks like the wings caught on fire unintentionally. Like if Moltres' wings were actually made of weak tissue paper, and then this match got a little too close to those wings and whoops, this bird is on fire! Is this turning into the karaoke episode all of a sudden? Who's that Pokemon? Number 4, it's Marowak. Well, look who got all high and mighty since the last games. No, don't say anything. I understand, I see that pose. Normally, Marowak has a more savage-looking pose, saying, I'm gonna hit you with this bone as expected. I mean, look at his red and blue pose, for example, or even the gold version pose. All Marowak is doing is just charging right at you. Or the yellow version pose, where he's looking at me. Hey, buddy, do I have something you want? Just creeping on me? Alright. However, this silver version pose is that of royalty. Is Marowak now a grand warrior with its bone in the ground as a sword? Or is it just feeling all high and mighty over us feeble humans, knowing that it's both superior in class and skill? On second thought, your hands are backwards, which means... Oh no, it's not posing, it's winding up a bone club! Look out!
I don't want it to hit me! I don't want it to hit me!
You alright? Did you get out of the way okay?
Owie! Who's that Pokemon?
Number 3, it's Raikou. Raikou? Let's just call him Raikou. What is up with this sprite? We're talking about one of the legendary Pokemon of the game, and he's kinda messed up. His face reminds me of one of those neck pillows. That or he has mutton chops. Does he have those regularly? I don't think so. It looks like it's supposed to be a mustache with some sort of fur around his head. At least he was improved in Crystal version, along with his other legendary dog friends. However, Raikou was clearly in need of the biggest changes. Just take a look at Suicune in Gold and Silver, barely changed in Crystal. Now look at Entei in Gold and Silver. He was given some lovely locks of hair in Crystal, but not much else was changed. Now we get to our subject, Raikou, who was completely redesigned to how he was supposedly supposed to look. Supposedly supposed to? Maybe I should get a thesaurus. Anyway, that is the tale of how Raikou got his groove back. Or got his groove in the first place. I don't know. I kinda like the old sprite for how outlandish it looks. In fact, you, meter that determines how cute things are. How cute is this old sprite on a scale of old Golbat sprite to a rabbit?
I'd give him an 8.
Well, you heard it here. An 8. Which is, I guess, right here. This thing isn't numbered. Who's that Pokemon? Number 2, it's Raichu. Things like to rhyme. In both sprites for Raichu in this generation, it looks so angry. In the silver version one, he's leaping right at me, angrily. When'd you get so angry, Raichu?
That's so sad. Why are you picking on him?
What do you mean? He's a bunch of pixels. A bunch of furious-looking pixels at that.
He needs more friends.
Well, after being the evolution to the most popular Pokemon out there in the first generation, I'd expect Raichu to get a little steamed at the lack of attention. Who got its own item starting in this generation? Pikachu. And what did Raichu get? Nothing. I can see why Raichu would get a tad irritated at that. However, this sprite is actually out of character for Raichu when compared to the sprites in other games. When have we seen Raichu in a sprite in the history of the main game series with an angry face? Only in Gold and Silver and Crystal. Sure, he is portrayed as a villain in the show sometimes, but that's just because the first generation was the whole Pikachu is good, Raichu is bad time. He's just supposed to be a happy little mouse, except in these games where he had enough of your sass and he's done being cute.
I still think he's cute though.
But that's the complete opposite of what I just tried to explain.
Who's that Pokemon?
Yes, who is that Pokemon? Who is number 1? Well, it's a throwback. Kind of, as in it looks like one because it resembles one of those goofy looking red and blue sprites. Number 1. It's Houndoom, specifically the gold sprite. Houndoom is supposed to be a hellhound of sorts, which he resembles in this sprite, but many of his features are exaggerated. For example, he's much redder and his eyes are much bigger than they should be, unless he's trying to look adorable for the judges at some dog show, but I think that's very out of character for this dog. He's also spitting fire reminiscent of the old Gen 1 sprites, where they're performing some sort of action. I kinda like it. Also, what are those red marks below his eyes? Wait, are those like red anime cheeks? Like the cheeks you see on cute characters in anime? I think they are. Were they going for some cute dog look here? I can easily see red cheek anime schoolgirl Houndoom saying something like,
I hope Senpai notices me.
As with previous sprites, the silver version sprite was pretty similar and the crystal version sprite fixed it up. So yeah, with over 500 sprites to choose from, do you have some favorites? Let us know. Thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video.